Hi there. I've made no secret in the past that I am utterly useless at pre-race trading. That, however, doesn't stop me from trying. And at the weekend, I started thinking about the techniques or some of the techniques I use in the Dutching with a view to trading out in running, if they can be applied pre-race. So specifically, I'm looking at compounding my staking. I'm looking at using NAP checker. I'm looking at using the variable green up process. So I went into simulation mode and I've been looking at some races this evening, and the results have been, well, as you can see, somewhat haphazard, which is fairly typical for my pre-race trading, of course. But let me just explain what it is I've actually been doing. I've been using NAP checker to make the pick for me. Essentially what I've been doing is I've been trading whatever the most popular pick was on NAP checker. The reason for that is, and this may be a rather naive reason, is that the average punter, as opposed to a trader, the average punter may be inclined more to follow tipsters than a trader would. And thereby, if there's lots of punters following those tips, perhaps that will drive the price down. So that was the reasoning behind using that. So the most popular pick on Naps Checker for each race, I would back 3-4 minutes before the off. I would then go in immediately after backing that runner. I would then lay a number of smaller bets at ever decreasing odds. So as that price came in, hopefully, those little lays would be taken and the liability would be reduced. Now that works in combination with the variable green up, in that as that liability decreases, the green up position will essentially decrease as well, and ultimately they come to meet each other and green up before the off. That hasn't happened in every case. I've still had to sit around and manually trade out just before the off, generally for a loss or a very small profit. But that's how I've been doing things. Obviously, you could automate that process as well, but I haven't bothered for this particular exercise. So it may be easier just to describe what I've been doing. The other thing I should point out, as I said, I've been using a compound staking plan. So I started off with 100, and every time I won a profit, so for example in this first one, £13, I increased the stake for the next race by that profit. But if I had a loss, I didn't reduce the stake for the next race. I kept it the same. So far I've gone from 100 all the way up to 156. Now, if we take a quick look at the Naps checker for this race coming up at Wetherby, we've got Swinging Eddie and Iron Sheriff being the two most popular picks. Iron Sheriff just nudging it, so he'll be the pick for this coming race. So that's Iron Sheriff. I'll get in round about sort of 3.5-ish minutes. First of all, let's just assign the target max liability. So as I was saying, I'll get involved in Iron Sheriff for £156 as the liability. In actual fact, sorry, no, that's wrong. That should be £162 now, having just had a winner in the last race at Sligo. So we're going to back Iron Sheriff around about 4 minutes. So 162 liability would mean, as far as the variable green up is concerned, trading out for a £40 profit. However, once I place the smaller lays and they hopefully get matched, we should find that that will start working its way down these rules and should trade out somewhere £15 or thereabouts. Okay, so let's back Iron Sheriff. Hopefully that will get matched. Obviously I'm in simulation mode doing this. So switch to the ladder and pull up Iron Sheriff. So once this gets matched, I'm going to pop in some lays all the way down here from 1 tick. I'm going to use £20 since I'm away up at 162 now. So we'll pop in £20 lays. That's 5, we should stick in 8 all told. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. So hopefully this will start coming down further. These £20 lays will start getting matched. And what you'll see is the liability, that's currently £162, will start to decrease, and that will then make the green up position slowly but surely work its way to one of these rules further up the strategy editor here. Now whilst we're busy watching that do its thing, what I should flag up to you is that you'll see we've had quite a few losers. Most of the big ones have all been at or in Ireland, either at Sligo or Killarney. Two things there to note. First of all, there's been very little money in those markets this evening. And keep in mind, I'm putting in, albeit in simulation mode, stakes of 150-ish pounds. I wouldn't do that in those markets in a live environment. The money's simply not there. The money sitting in the market would be sitting around, £20 here, £30 there. So I wouldn't necessarily want to do that in the real life. The other thing to note is that the selections via Nap Checker with regard to the Irish racing is that during the week especially, there tends not to be very many tips, or tipsters I should say. You have the 3 Racing Post tips as well as the 3 Irish tipsters. So you've only got half a dozen tipsters spread across what can be relatively large fields, which makes the selection process that bit more difficult. So come the end of this race, I may actually delete all the Irish ones to see what the actual total is in the end. So as you can see right there, we've just greened up for £16. Okay, so as you saw there, with those little lays being taken, our green up position slowly worked its way where our liability was between £60 and £80, and that was the green up because we were in profit by that much. So that's exactly what I'm trying to do, and it has worked on all of these ones where we have a decent profit. So from that point of view, it's working, but like everything else pre-race, making the selections is always the difficult part. The other thing to note is that virtually all of these losers, my entry point on the selected horse was at or very damn close to a crossover point, and that in itself may be a lesson to learn. Certainly worthwhile taking note in any case. Okay, let me just clear all these. You see that we've got £23, £24 plus 16. So that's 40 quid, near enough, for my efforts this evening. Let me just get rid of all the Irish racing. And if I remove those, it's much the same. £24 plus 16. So it's that more or less cancelled each other out. So in many respects, it was a waste of time going to Ireland. But certainly, it's understandable given the amount of money or the lack of money that was in the Irish racing and the lack of tipsters. So anyway, that's what I've been trying to do today. What I've seen would encourage me to try again. I think it's showing potential promise. One thing I would like to try, I think, also would be to actually Dutch a couple of runners before the off and trade them pre-race to see how that works, if indeed that's a viable option as well. Anyway, lots of food for thought, and I shall resume this some other time. Okay guys, thanks for watching.